Hey guys, Boomer here. I was talking with a friend just the other day, and he said, "How come you don't ride your Silver Wing anymore?" And I thought about it, and he's right. I do ride it, I just don't ride it as much as I used to. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to take the Silver Wing out today. And with that, there she is. This is Bertha. Now, the reason that my wife and I decided to call her Bertha was because she's big enough for both of our butts. You know, when he said you don't ride the Silver Wing anymore, it's kind of like the indication was there was something wrong with it, or I didn't like it. Neither could be further from the truth. She's running great, always has, and I do love this bike. It's a fun bike to ride. It wasn't really so much fun at first for a couple of reasons. I had to replace the tires, and the steering head bearings had a flat spot, which made the steering kind of iffy, and the forks needed to be rebuilt, all of which I've done. My wife and I have done this, and yeah, I love this Silver Wing. I thought I might take a minute and just tell you a little bit about her. Now, this is a touring bike. It's an interstate. As you can see right here, interstate. It's made for touring. But unlike most touring bikes that you might see today that are 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, 1,500, 1,800s, this is a little old GL 500. Yes, 500. And she puts out an incredible 50 horsepower at 9,000 RPM. But you know what? That's enough. The only thing that I would do with this bike if I had to redesign it was I would give it a 6th gear, an overdrive. It's a 5-speed. Now that 5th gear is interesting because I've actually been 40 miles an hour in 5th gear, and I've been 73, 74 miles an hour in 5th gear. Wide-ranging 5th gear, but it is a 5-speed. So the one thing I might do differently would maybe put in a 6th speed. Think it would make it a lot easier, because there are sometimes when you're cruising down the road, 55, 60 miles an hour, and the RPMs are revving up pretty good, and you just kind of instinctively pull in the clutch and you want to shift up to another gear, and it's just not there. But it's a 5-speed. But that's okay. She does well. You have to remember that when these bikes were made, the national speed limit was 55 miles per hour. And this bike is perfectly at home at 55 miles per hour. She does live in the higher RPM range, because I can show you right here. Hopefully you can see it. I mean, the red line is what, 96, 97,000, 100,000, yeah, 100 RPM. So she lives in that higher RPM range, so she's comfortable there. And I've been on the expressway, 72, 73, 74 miles per hour, and the tachometer is 7,000, 7,200 RPM. But like I said, they're comfortable in that RPM range. This little GL500, it'll do it. Electric start. What else can I tell you about her? It's an 80-degree horizontally opposed V-twin. This thing is, I'm sure you've heard this about a lot of other bikes, it is bulletproof. And I've heard that about the Japanese bikes, well, for as long as I've been riding. They are bulletproof. They go and they go and they go. And this bike is really no exception. Right now I've got over 47,000 miles on it. It's a 1982. That makes it, 38 years old? And it's got all kind of luggage on it. Now, this rear top case, it's not as big as what you might find in a Gold Wing, which is the big sister to the Silver Wing. It's got a decent amount of room inside of here. I mean, you're not going to get a full face helmet in there, but a half helmet, no problem. You can, if you're traveling, get some clothing and stuff in there along with the luggage. Now, what's cool about this bike is that the ignition key right here will fit everything on this bike. It fits this cover right here, this cover removed for storage in the fairing. It locks and unlocks the luggage here, and this luggage is removable. If you look back here, hopefully you can see it, there's a lock right here. You unlock that, pull up on this lever right here, and then one more step, you come down here and release this. Then the whole thing lifts right off and you can carry it into your hotel room. So the same key operates all of those locks. It operates the locks here on the top case, and there are also helmet locks on it. Oh, where'd the helmet lock go? I think the helmet lock is behind the case, so you can't use the helmet lock if you have the side case on. But it does operate that as well. So one key operates everything. It's comfortable. It's a very comfortable bike. Some of the things that I've done since I got it, I did not do a whole lot cosmetically. This is not the original color. The original color was silver. So this paint job was done by the previous owner. But a couple of things that I have done. I had to rebuild the forks. They were leaking. Had to rebuild the calipers. The brakes were not what they should be. In fact, when I bought this bike, the previous owner gave me a box that had another master cylinder in it and brake lever that he said was the original one. I don't know, but the one that was on there was so spongy and the seals inside were leaking. And since I didn't know what kind of a rebuild kit to buy for it, I did some research and basically found out that any master cylinder that would operate the two calipers on the front would work. So this master cylinder here actually came off of a 750. I want to say Virago maybe, but it came off a 750 Honda. And it works just fine on this old Silverwing. I've got some more storage over here under this right here. It just unsnaps all the way around. There's another storage pocket here. The previous owner put a cup holder in it, which I find extremely convenient. It's got some vents here, which are interesting to have vents. Looks like they come right out of a car, you know, to have vents on a motorcycle. But you got them. Temperature gauge. It does not have a fuel gauge, but it's got, I think it was like 4.6 gallons, and this bike gets around 50 miles a gallon. So you have got plenty of range on this bike. It's got the radio. It's got another vent right up here in the windscreen. Windscreen is nice. I've replaced the mirrors on both sides with, whether it's an EMGO, EMGO. Not real pleased with the quality, but they do the job. Let's see. So I've rebuilt the forks, rebuilt the brakes. I added, you can see the LED lights here mounted to the engine guard, both sides. And that's important because you want to see and be seen, as I've said in my other videos. It's extremely important. This also has the carburetors have been professionally rebuilt and synced, and I've got a piece of tape under here for some reason. But the carbs completely rebuilt and synced, which made a world of difference in how this bike ran. Electric start, it's got 4 valves per cylinder, 2 exhaust, 2 intake, and this is not hydraulic. So they have to be adjusted. That's one of the maintenance items. You have to adjust the valves on this. Now I will say that in 1983 the Silverwing was a 650, which gives you a little more horsepower, a little more capability at highway speeds, but this one is the 500, 1982. There's also the CX 500. There is a Silverwing that doesn't have all of the luggage. Notice that this bike also has the center stand, which you do not see a whole lot anymore. And I do love that center stand because it makes maintenance on this bike so much easier when you can put it on the center stand, changing tires, changing oil, so forth and so on. And it's a good thing it's got this center stand, because this side stand, one of the issues with Silverwing is the side stand tends to wear out and you get a lot of lateral motion in the thing. So when you put the bike down on the center stand, it tends to lean a little bit farther over than it should. In fact, my mechanic put a block of wood under it because it was leaning over that far. About the only other issue I'm aware of with these bikes is the water pump, which is right here. This is the water pump, will leak at the seal, and you'll be able to see the fluid right down here. Mine was leaking just a little, and then thankfully it stopped. But to do that properly, that's an engine out job to replace that seal. Now there is a technique you can use where you do not have to pull the engine, and I've seen that done successfully, so hopefully I will never have to find out. But that's one of the issues you might run into with one of these Silver Wings. It's got front disc brakes, dual disc, rear drum, and it also has, which is so cool, shaft drive. Really dirty, but shaft drive down there, which is, oh gosh, I love it, as opposed to chain or belt. On the top case back here, what I've also done is I put this LED strip, and I put one of those modulators so that when I hit either brake, that LED strip will start flashing 4 times very quickly, then 4 times very slowly, in addition to the brake light, which is under here. Again, C and B scene. I added the little rack up here on top of the case. So I've done a few things to her. But I did want to show you Bertha, and as you can see, let me move my helmet real quick. There is plenty of room for a rider and a passenger. Plenty of room, and this bike will do 2 up. I mean, it was made to. It was made to do 2 up. It's 70 miles on the expressway. It's going to be pushing its limits. But when speed limit was 55, heck, not a problem at all. So anyway, Silver Wing is fine. I love the Silver Wing, and thank you, Ray, my buddy. I decided, based upon your recommendation, to bring old Bertha out for another ride. This is the 2nd time this year that I've had her out, and I do love this bike. And she does get a lot of looks, a lot of compliments.